Good evening. Welcome back to Answers on Eschatology. My name is Dan Derry, and I'm the president of the Institute of Fulfilled Eschatology. Hey, I want to share some more thoughts regarding that day and hour of Matthew 24, verse 36 with you this evening. Now, as we've shown to this point, that day and hour referred to the passing away of the Old Covenant world of Judaism, heaven and earth. And since that passing away of heaven and earth, that day and hour, took place at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, that means that that day and hour must have been at hand. It must have been near in the first century. And recall this as well in Mark 13, 31 through 33, the parallel text to Matthew 24, 35 through 37. Jesus identified the day and hour as the kairos. It was a parallel scripture. He just changed the words. So the day and the hour that was at hand, that represented the fall of the Old Covenant world, was the appointed time. It was the kairos. Remember, it was the appointed time within that generation that the Old Covenant world would pass away through judgment. Now, here's the thing. Let's put this theory to the test. If the day and the hour, the kairos, the appointed time, referred to the appointed time and the day and the hour of the fall of the Old Covenant world of Judaism in AD 70, then we should expect to find the New Testament writers teaching that very thing. They should teach that the day, the hour, the appointed time for the judgment was at hand. But not only that, as we've seen throughout this study, that judgment, the fall of Jerusalem, the judgment of the Old Covenant world at the end of the age, not only brought destruction and vengeance upon the wicked, but it also brought salvation, vindication, and righteousness to the elect. So we should find that in the New Testament. We should find this day, the hour, the appointed time, the kairos, that was at hand, which would bring both judgment and salvation at the day of the Lord, at the end of the Old Covenant age in AD 70. Let's do this. Let's survey a few texts, just a few of the many that could be cited in the New Testament, and let's put this teaching to the test. Go with me first to 2 Corinthians chapter 6. Let's take a look at this. 1 and verse 2. And working together with him, we also urge you not to receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, now he's quoting Isaiah 49. For he says, at the acceptable time, I listened to you. On the day of redemption, I helped you. So he's quoting, once again, Isaiah 49, which was a prophecy of the restoration and the salvation of Israel. Now watch this. Behold, now is the acceptable time. Now is the day of salvation. Paul is teaching that his day was what Isaiah prophesied. The salvation, the restoration of Israel was taking place in Paul's generation. But here's the point. He says, now is the acceptable time. That's the kairos. That's the appointed time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. So the acceptable time, the kairos, and the day of salvation was at hand in Paul's generation. Let's go on. Go with me to 1 John chapter 2. Watch this. 1 John 2, 15 through 18. A very familiar text probably to most of us. John says, love not the world, that is the cosmos, that is the Jewish world, neither the things in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the boastful pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world, that is the Jewish world, is passing away. It was at that time passing away. That's exactly what we see in Matthew 24, by the way. Remember, the heaven and earth was about to be removed. Heaven and earth will pass away. This world of Judaism was passing away. Watch this. And the lusts of it, but the one who does the will of God lives forever. Verse 18, children, it is the last hour. What did Jesus say in Matthew 24? But of that day and hour, the appointed time, no one knows. This last hour for the passing away of heaven and earth, the Old Covenant world, the cosmos, was at hand. It is the last hour, and just as you've heard that Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have appeared. From this we know that it is the last hour. So the last hour for the passing away of heaven and earth, the Old Covenant world of Judaism, was at hand. Okay? Let's look at another one. Revelation chapter 14. Regarding the hour again. Revelation 14, let's read verses 6 through 8. And I saw another angel flying in mid-heaven, having an eternal gospel to preach to those who live on the earth, and to every nation and tribe and tongue and people. And he said with a loud voice, fear God and give him glory, because the hour, this is the day and the hour of his judgment has come. What are we talking about in Matthew 24? The judgment of that old covenant world, of Jerusalem. Well, watch this. This is who the judgment, the hour of judgment will come upon. Verse 8. And another angel, a second one following, saying, fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. So Babylon the Great was the recipient of the judgment of God, the hour of judgment. Well, we learn in the book of Revelation, I don't have time to get into this, but Revelation 17 through 19, that Babylon was the city guilty of shedding the blood of the saints. They were drunk with the blood of the martyrs, and in her was found all the blood shed upon the earth. And at the judgment of Babylon, Revelation 19 verses 1 and 2, the saints and the apostles and prophets were avenged. If we look at Matthew 23, 29 and following, Jesus said that upon old covenant Jerusalem of his day would all the blood of the righteous, all the blood of the prophets be avenged. Old covenant Jerusalem was Babylon of Revelation. And in Revelation 14, John says that that hour, the hour of the judgment of Jerusalem, i.e. Babylon, had come. That means the hour for the judgment in Matthew 24, which was the judgment of Jerusalem, had come. Let's take a look at another one. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Let's look at verses 29 through 31. This one's powerful. This I say, brethren, the time has been shortened. That is kairos. That is the appointed time has been shortened. What was Jesus talking about in Matthew 24, 36 again? The day and the hour, which was the appointed time. So the appointed time has been shortened. This word shortened means abridged. It's been cut. It's been this gives the idea of it can't be expanded again. It can't be postponed. The time has now been shortened. It is only so long. There's no postponement here, okay? Our premillennial brethren should get this verse. They should understand this verse. The appointed time that Jesus spoke of has been shortened. But now watch this. Verse 30, let's just read 30 through 31. And those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, and those who buy as though they did not possess. You know, they were to act like this because the appointed time was cut short. And those who use this world as though they did not make full use of it. Why? For the form of this world, that's the cosmos, that's the old covenant world, is passing away. So watch what Paul says. He says the appointed time, the kairos, has been cut short, but that appointed time would result in the passing away of the old covenant world. That's the heaven and earth. In Matthew 24, 34, that Jesus said no one would know the day or the hour, the appointed time of that passing. That's exactly what Paul's talking about, 1 Corinthians 7. Let's go to another one, 1 Peter chapter 1. 1 Peter 1, and look at verses 3 and 5. Sorry, give me a second. I hit the wrong button. Blessed be the God of our Father, of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his great mercy has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to obtain an inheritance which is imperishable and undefiled and will not fade away, reserved in heaven for you. Watch this. Who are protected by the power of God through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. The kairos. So this salvation was ready. It was on the point of being revealed in that last appointed time, the kairos. And in verse 20, Peter reveals that appointed time, the last appointed time, to be their last days. 1 Peter 1:20 says this, for he was foreordained before the foundation of the world, that's Christ, but has appeared in these last times for the sake of you. So Peter's last times was the last appointed time when salvation was about to be revealed. Let's go to 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 7. Watch this. Peter says, the end of all things is near. Therefore be of sound judgment and sober spirit for the purpose of prayer. The end of what? The end of the old covenant world of heaven and earth. The day, the hour, the appointed time had drawn near, and the end of all things covenantally had drawn near. 1 Peter 4:17. For it is the time, the appointed time, the kairos, for the judgment to begin, with the household of God. I'll stop right there. Peter in 1 4:17, in following up his statement at the end of all things was at hand, he says the appointed time for the judgment was at hand. That is the judgment of Matthew 24. That is the judgment of Matthew 16:27 through 28, the coming of the Son of Man in the glory of the Father to reward every man according to his works. In Revelation 1 to 3, we find this again. John says this, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his bondservants the things which must soon take place. And verse 3, blessed is the one who reads and those who hear the words of the prophecy and heed those things which are written in it, for the time, the kairos, the appointed time, has drawn near. For the sake of time, I won't go to Revelation 22, but it says the same thing. Revelation 22, 6, 10, and 12, the appointed time, the kairos, had drawn near for the entire prophecy of Revelation to be fulfilled. Let's look at one more verse. I'm way over time, but this is powerful because in Romans 13, we find the day, the hour, and the appointed time all in the same verse. Watch this. Romans 13 and verse 11. Do this, knowing the time, the appointed time, the kairos, that it is already the hour for you to awaken from sleep. For now our salvation is nearer to us than when we first believed. Verse 12, the night is almost gone, the day is near. So we have the day and the hour of salvation, which was the appointed time that was ready to be revealed in Paul's generation. Listen, that's exactly what we see in Matthew 24. We have the day, the hour, the appointed time for the judgment and salvation of Jerusalem about to be revealed, about to be fulfilled. And Jesus places all of that, the judgment and the salvation, in his generation. Matthew 24:34. Listen, the day and the hour, the appointed time that no one knew, not the Son, not the angels, but only the Father, was the day and the hour of the judgment and destruction of Old Covenant Jerusalem in AD 70. When the disciples saw the signs, they couldn't know exactly when it was going to take place, but they knew when that day and hour, when the appointed time was at hand. And that's exactly what they taught throughout the New Testament writings. The day, the hour, and the kairos, the appointed time for the judgment and salvation of Israel at the end of the age, at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70, was at hand, and it took place 2,000 years ago. That's it. I apologize for being so long. You have a blessed week. This is probably my last video for the week. If I can get another one in, I'll do that. I've got a lot of business things to take care of. If I don't do that, I will see you Monday. Have a great week and a great weekend. God bless.